I have the feeling that the society I live in is dividing into factions and the gap between the factions is expanding. More and more people are holding beliefs that were once considered extreme, and extremism is being normalized into the mainstream ideology. In his book, Why We Are Polarized, political journalist Ezra Klein thoroughly examined the evidence on polarizing trends and provided some possible explanation. I have to note that Klein is unapologetically Democrat, and here I choose to omit parts that strongly reflect his political ideologies, just to the merit of discussing the issue of polarization. The human mind is tuned to group affiliation and group differences. Klein cited a study that randomly divided test subjects into two groups, and they exhibited strong in-group preference and out-group hostility. It suggests that we, as humans, tend to gang up against others, even if the characterizing factors completely arbitrary under lab setting. It is believed that this mentality can be traced back to an era when we live in tribes, and the winning of our tribe and the losing of the opposing tribe is a matter of life and death. In reality, the rifts in our society are grimmer because the cross-section is not evenly divided between different dimensions. For example, being of a certain heritage might be positively or negatively associated with your economic status, and this makes both characterizing factors more dividing. Another reason is the reinforcement of affirmative information exposure. Nowadays, social media platforms compete to provide the best algorithm that most precisely understands what the user likes or dislikes. If they can keep users' attention for longer, these platforms can draw higher ad revenue and higher valuation from investors. The success of TikTok is largely dependent on its ability to recommend videos that may engage you, but that creates massive exposure bias. You're only exposed to things you agree with, things you relate to, and things you want to see. And once your opinions are getting radicalized, there's no reining it in. Before the rise of social media, traditional TV channels and newspapers need to appeal to a much wider audience because they invest more time and effort to make each piece of news, and they have to sell it to more people if they want to break even. That means they have to make themselves agreeable to most people. But with the arrival of social media, tech giants have reinvented the way people produce news and entertainment, and this has enabled content providers to find a niche position and serve a smaller audience who holds extreme beliefs. Klein speaks of polarization with a negative connotation, but sometimes I think of polarization as a neutral idea. I think that polarization is the inevitable result of social Darwinian evolution, because people are inherently and hereditarily different. The differences are compounded over time, and eventually they lead to polarizing opinions. I argue that the diversity of opinions is preferred, as it puts checks on the political system. I think a big part of civic education is about learning how to listen to people who don't share your stance, and learning how to respect their entitlement to opinions. In the book Animal Farm, the populist movement leaders eventually became tyrants themselves. Don't buy into their derogatory rhetoric. Combat your instinct to denounce the dissents. Real life isn't always about rainbows and unicorns. Rather, learn to appreciate the natural diversity of people and opinions.